examples, I'm still eager to go on researching about elderly people who were taught to use internet. It also sometimes has been in libraries, sometimes in special places. And after reading your article, I thought that it might be a very interesting thing to make ethnographic research of how do they behave. So probably that's all my questions. With question, Lyonya. Okay. So probably because I think it's on my part, I have some very strange sound. I suggest to probably we can talk one more time about the conference if you have some, just half an hour.
Sure.
In the beginning of because today I will, after this talk, move to a place where I will talk about it more precisely. And then I will get to know everything about visa, about tickets, and so on. Write it to you more in a full letter about it. And I will also the text. It was very interesting interview and very interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much.
I have a question for you. Would you like to meet my dog?
Sorry?
Would you like to meet my dog? I have my dog right here. He's
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Come on. Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Very beautiful.
It is very beautiful, and so
I was afraid he would bark.
What is her name?
His name is Johnny Cash.
Like a singer,
wow.
Yeah.
Hi. He's very nice.
Well, you said you wanted to make me more like a human, so I thought adding a dog would make me more like a human.
Please, probably we can place this picture when because we have a page where we say something about our guests of the school, and probably we can place a screenshot like this.
It's fine with me.
You look great. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes video conferences. He does look at the screen. I'm not sure. I think he is looking at you, Polina.
Yeah, probably. And he's very attentive. Do you understand what I'm saying?
What's that?
I think he understands what I'm saying.
I doubt. I don't know.
If
I can also try.
One more question about about our talk. I started to work with history of internet in Russia in Russian cities, and because of it, I am interested into think about both social history, like probably inventing the internet of Jane Abbott, and infrastructure. And I wanted to know, is it interesting idea to combine this approach and to think about it, or it is strange idea? Will it be productive, and what are relations between history of the internet in Jane Abbott version and lots of other researchers who work with history of infrastructure and social organization and infrastructure studies as is?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in the English-speaking context, it is very normal because infrastructure studies has been dominated by historians. So using social history and infrastructure seems very logical. So Paul Edwards, we already mentioned as an example, but I think, you know, broadly, the insight of STS is supposed to be that technology is society made durable. So you think about, if you're interested in history, you're probably interested for some reason, like you want to diagnose social relationships or changes, not just describe what happened. And so what technology gives you is an avenue, a sort of diagnostic tool to study society, because it is a product of humanity. So it seems very logical to me. It seems like very consistent with the things other people had done. I mean, I was really inspired by a book from the 1980s when I was a student called Networks of Power, by Thomas Park Hughes, and it's a historian, so it's just straight history, but he means networks of power in both senses. So it's a book about the history of electricity, but it's about how electricity is about social power. And so his argument in the book, which may be particularly interesting to you in the context of Russia, is he looks at different countries and he says that their development of electrical systems is really strongly shaped by their political ideas, which is a very strange assertion at the time. So he finds that the power networks in London are very decentralized, and they're extremely, you know, they don't standardize, they don't interconnect. They often, as a result, they often develop interesting innovations because each one is developed differently, and so they often come up with neat little new novel innovations. But he says that the model of the power network is the model of municipal government in London. And so they gave the responsibility for power networks to the municipal governments. And because that is so decentralized, you got a different power network. So you can diagnose the politics of the English from the power network or vice versa. And then he compares it to Berlin and to Chicago. And so in Chicago, for example, you have the political machine where you have a very strongly centralized political organization, possibly corrupt. And the idea there is that one person gets to be in charge of it and they make a massive single design that covers everything. And so the power network here is also diagnostic of the fact that, you know, this is a cultural sensibility about the way to solve problems. This is a political organization for how to organize relationships between people. It's about money. And so I was very inspired by this, even though, I mean, I wasn't a history major. I didn't read a lot of history, but I saw this book and I thought, what a fascinating idea to talk about power networks as networks of power in both senses. And this is what led me to STS. And it is considered a classic in the history of technology, and it's commonly read in STS. So I wonder what Moscow would be like. He has a chapter for Berlin, London, and Chicago, but none for Moscow.
Thank you.
And especially, I suppose it might be different in different Russian parts of Russia, because I don't know the history of Russian so well, but it was done by partly began in the beginning of 20th century and then by communists. And but probably there are also some local things, because we see them. Yeah, it is a thing to read. I suppose someone had written about it, probably. All right. Unfortunately, I have to run already, so sure. I will be back with details on the conference and also with your text, and hope that the next week and the beginning of April we will be able to deal with it all, and because conference is rather soon, so probably we will have some issues with visa and so on. Thank you very much. It was really very, very inspiring and describing much for us, especially about the question who is left out. I mean, it was a key for some of combinations of questions in your works I could not find, and after you told it, it became more clear, and I will think about it as well. Thank you
I'm
very much.
delighted to participate, and it's such a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, and I hope we'll tell you some interesting stories about what is going on in Russia as well. And thank you for showing your dog. It was nice.
Well, he also sends his regards.
All right.